call the June 25th, 2020 meeting of the Parker Planning Commission to order at 7 p.m. Will you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? John?
I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice
for all.
All right. Roll call. Eliana is absent. Susan?
Here.
Rich?
Here.
Eric is absent. John?
here.
Tracy?
Here.
Ruth Ann?
Here.
Gary Poole is here, and Kim Rodell is absent. All right. Next item. Bryce, are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay. Next item is the approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from June 11th, 2020?
No, sir.
Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the June 11th, 2020 minutes.
I'll second.
It's been moved by John, seconded by Rich, that we approve the June 11th, 2020 meeting minutes. I will call the roll again. Susan?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Ruth Ann?
Yes.
Gary Poole is yes. Okay, next item. Item number 6. We have a public hearing on Old Town at Parker. And we will open the public hearing at, I've lost my clock here, 7:03. Brianna, I think we're in your capable hands now.
Perfect. Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman. This evening, the applicant is requesting an amendment to the Old Town at Parker Plan Development and for a sketch and preliminary plan. The applicant is Norris Design and the representative is Bill Mahar. The applicant is present to answer any questions the commissioners might have and also will have a presentation of their own following staff's report. The applicant has demonstrated that all public notice requirements have been met. The site is located on the south side of Main Street between Jordan Road and Motzenbacher Road. The PD amendment will add 12.2 acres to the Oldie Town at Parker subdivision for condominiums and single-family attached housing in Rose Creek North. The sketch and preliminary plans propose 48 residential townhome sites and a 5+ acre site on which to construct 3 multifamily condo buildings. Additionally, the applicant will reconfigure 2 adjacent commercial lots and existing drainage facilities. The Oldie Town at Parker property was annexed in 2000 with a PD zoning that provided for 5.5 acres of commercial area and 595 residential units along with a series of parks. In 2003, the PD was amended and a sketch and preliminary plan was approved that enlarged the commercial area to 13.35 acres. The commercial area is shown here inside the red squares. The commercial area included the access drive and adjacent drainage swale on the east boundary of the planning area, shown here in blue. Construction of the western half of the PD ceased in 2008 with the economic downturn, but has since been largely developed. In 2017, the eastern half of the original development purchased by the developer proposing this current amendment. The request tonight includes a 12.2 unplatted parcel located north of the original development, and this property was annexed into the town in 2014. This is outlined in yellow. The PD currently allows for 4.51 dwelling units per acre. This PD amendment will result in an increase to an overall density of less than 1 dwelling unit per acre and does not preclude the applicant's ability to meet the landscaping, open space, or park dedication requirements. Currently, there are multifamily uses allowed within the PD, and some multifamily already exists within this development. The 2 commercial lots and adjacent drainage areas are currently located in Planning Area 1 and are designated as a commercial center. This area will remain largely unchanged in terms of uses. The sketch and preliminary plans propose 48 townhome lots and 1 5.236 acre lot that will be developed into 3 condominium buildings containing 108 dwelling units. This results in a total of 156 new residential units. Additionally, the plat will reconfigure 2 commercial lots and reclaim 1.86 acres of the adjacent drainage tract through re-engineering. These 2 commercial lots and drainage tracts will be removed from filing 1 and replatted into filing 2. The 12.2 acre site that will be added to the Oldie Town at Parker development is currently vacant and zoned agricultural. Structures on the site include an abandoned house that will be demolished and a communications tower that will remain. Though it is surrounded on all sides by residential and commercially zoned properties, the site has remained undeveloped, presumably because of the inherent challenges on the site, as it is a relatively small parcel, has no direct access to Main Street, and includes a cell tower that must be incorporated into the development. Inclusion of this property into the Oldie Town Senderos Creek neighborhood will complete the subdivision and provide creative solutions to the development challenges that exist on the site. The applicant has worked closely with the Oldie Town Metro District and HOA throughout this process. The additional acreage will be included into the Oldie Town Metro District and HOA, and the community pool and park areas were designed to include the additional density being proposed. The pool is nearing completion and should be complete in time for the 2020 season. Surrounding uses include commercial to the west, American Academy Elementary School to the east, and existing residential development to the north and the south. Higher density residential is appropriate at this location as a transition between less intense residential and non-residential areas. This mixed use project combines a variety of housing types with a design that expands pedestrian connectivity and encourages residents to walk and bike to obtain goods and services. The property is located near the intersection of Jordan Road and Main Street, providing good transportation connections to major transportation corridors such as I-25 and Parker Road. There are 2 access points into the development, one from the north via Main Street and a second from the south via East Springfield Road. The extension of East Springfield Court will provide vehicle and pedestrian access from the residential areas to the adjacent commercial facilities, and Springfield Court from the south will end at a cul-de-sac, avoiding through traffic for the Clark Farm subdivision. The proposal is consistent with the Parker 2035 master plan, which indicates this area as medium density residential and within a neighborhood center. The medium density residential designation recommends an overall density of 3.5 dwelling units per acre, while the neighborhood center designation allows for a higher density when applied in a mixed-use walkable development. This project integrates commercial uses with adjacent residential and recreational uses through pedestrian-oriented alternative access routes that encourage residents to walk or bike. This design supports the full-service community that is envisioned in the Parker 2035 master plan. The uses, densities, and overall design considerations recommended for the medium-density residential and neighborhood center districts are consistent with the proposed PD amendment and with the 9 approval criteria for a rezoning request. The applicant has also demonstrated compliance with the requirements of the Land Development Ordinance and all other relevant regulatory documents for the sketch and preliminary plans. Therefore, staff is recommending that Planning Commission recommend approval for the Oldie Town at Parker Third Amendment to the Plan Development Guide and Plan. Additionally, staff is recommending that Planning Commission recommend approval for the Oldie Town at Parker Filing 2 Sketch and Preliminary Plans with the 2 conditions recommended in staff's report. This concludes staff's report. Staff would like to ask commissioners permission to reserve questions until after the applicant has completed their presentation.
That's fine, Brianna. The applicant want to start then?
Good evening, planning commissioners and staff. Can you hear me?
Yes, would you please
Yes.
identify yourself for us? And
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, good evening, members of the Planning Commission and staff. My name is Bill Mahar, and the project representative with Norris Design, a planning and landscape architecture firm. But before I begin, I'd really like to thank the Town of Parker staff for the contribution and ideas, time, and comments. We've been working on this overall neighborhood for over 4 years, and it's truly been a collaboration with staff and referral agencies. And we really want to extend a special thank you to Carolyn Parkinson. We know she is not on this call tonight, but has been an integral part of all of our processes, and in particular this project. And we will miss her as she moves towards reducing her hours with the town. Could I go into the next slide, please? Before we get going, I'd like to introduce the project team. Who we have on the call tonight is Brian Byler, the applicant and developer with Pacific North. And Brian will say a few things as we move forward here. And our engineering team is, we are joined with Ben Balzer, civil engineer, and also his colleague, David Kuntz, another civil engineer. And I'm with Norris Design. I'm also joined by Dave Jenkins and Daniel Jennings are on the call. And our architect on the project is Alex Duran with Godin Sudik. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we've been working on this current site, this 12-acre site that you see in the slide in front of you for 2 years. But as I mentioned earlier, we've been busy on this entire neighborhood for over 4. Early on in the process, a couple of years ago, staff suggested, as we completed the paired homes and single family to the south, that we may entertain a owner-occupied higher density land use, such as condominiums and attached housing. And we moved forward with that idea and have continued working with the staff to get us to this point. And the project aligns, as Brianna mentioned, with the town goals, the town master plan. With this project, it has made it possible to work with the Metro District and the neighborhood to restructure the Metro District to make sure it is solvent. And as I finish the slide, I'd like Brian to chime in and say a few words about that. And with this, this project has, which we'll get into, has allowed for the previous commitments to be realized, such as the community pool, which we will go over shortly. And there's a number of drainage improvements that are not only benefiting our project, but the surrounding neighborhoods as well, such as Clark Farms to the north and the homes throughout the Senderos Creek neighborhood. With that, Brian, would you like to speak about the Metro District and how that process has been beneficial and the collaborative nature of it?
I need to allow him to speak. Just one moment,
Okay.
please.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Sure. Okay, Brian, you're good to go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Planning Commission. It's Brian Byler with Pacific North. Appreciate your time tonight. And as Bill has mentioned, specifically on this site, we've been working with the town for a couple years, but as you can see on the slide, we've been working on the entire development, and those conversations with the Metro District started long before we ultimately sold and built out the property with Meritage Homes. And I think this slide's a good illustration. You can see kind of the bad deal that was dealt with the last downturn on how much of this overall development was not completed. And with that development not being completed, as you're familiar with Metro Districts, the Metro District can't really go bankrupt, but it definitely was insolvent because of the lack of the housing and the completion of the overall development. And with that, that left the existing residents without the pool and pool house that was promised, without some critical infrastructure, and just really with a completely unfinished development, which had, I'm sure, more problems than I'm listing tonight. So what we did in conjunction with the town and the Metro District and the HOA is work for almost 2 years to come up with a plan on how we could incorporate the property that we're talking about tonight into the Metro District, which in turn allowed enough capacity to refund the defunct bonds. And there actually, most people don't realize this, but because the Metro District can't go bankrupt, there's an additional mill levy that was against the existing residents for a period of years. So we were able to restructure all that, set aside a portion of money that would help for the infrastructure and allow the completion of the pool, and in turn allow Meritage Homes to come in and complete the project with us installing all the infrastructure. So it was really working with the town. That also facilitated about 1.7 million going to the town of Parker to widen Matzenbacher Road, which is now complete. And as Bill mentioned, this is really the last piece of this development. We also own both commercial lots and the retail lot on that corner. And so in conjunction with what we're talking about tonight, we'll be able to complete the entire project and really get a Main Street presence and finish off what was started maybe almost 10 years ago now.
Great, thank you, Brian. And Rosemary, I'll take it from here.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Great. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, we just wanted to graphically walk you through briefly the evolution of the neighborhood, just to follow up on Brian and how this fits into the bigger picture and how we have come in since 2016 and over time, even finish off the completion of this neighborhood that has been in an unfinished state since 2008. And this, as Brian mentioned, this took a lot of collaboration with the HOA, with the town, with the Metro District. And we're really proud to see how it is coming together. And we have some more information in the next couple slides, but we think it's important to show you where we started and how this current project fits into the bigger picture and all of the amenities that are going in and being installed currently as we speak. Next slide, please. Okay, well, this is the fun slide, as we like to call it. The development of these components of the neighborhood has helped set the foundation for the elements that will make the neighborhood a place to call home. As you see in this slide, we are currently working on extension of sidewalks to the school, to the American Academy. We are working in partnership with Matzenbacher Medians through financial obligations, and I have photos of those to show their current state. And we're also improving the neighborhood signage that is really in a state of disrepair out there along Motzenbacher and Jordan Road, and a number of sidewalk improvements that I'll show you in the next slide. Next slide, please. And this one speaks to the overall pedestrian connections of the neighborhood. Pedestrian access and sidewalks is a real hallmark of this neighborhood and many neighborhoods within Parker. We really commend the town for advocating for a good pedestrian network. And you can see how we have planned that in and connected to the existing neighborhood. The white lines indicate sidewalks and bike paths. How we're connecting down to the regional trail on the south along Todd Drive, regional trail over Motzenbacher, connections to the school, connections to the future commercial area. And you can kind of see how it is ghosted in the future area that we're have under consideration for tonight. What this does is it provides amenities for all ages and abilities. Young and old can get out and walk and explore their neighborhood, and it provides that safety and that continuity and brings the neighborhood together. Next slide, please. And as Brian and Brianna mentioned, the pool has been a real signature part of this project. It was never realized. It was a commitment by the previous developer. And Brian and the team have spent many, many hours working together to make this a reality. And we have worked with Carolyn over the past 2 years to make sure this met the town standards. And she got out her red pens and held us to task. And we're really excited to see this finished. And we came away walking away knowing Carolyn likes her landscaping because she made sure it has a lot of landscaping with it. But this is getting close to being done and will be a great contribution for the neighborhood for something that they've been promised for a long time and we'll see finished. Next slide. And just to kind of finalize our overview of the neighborhood, this is just some pictures that I took the other day just to show how things are coming together from those amenities that I was speaking about. On the right photo is Motzenbacher Road median improvements with the signature light standard of the town of Parker. The middle photo is representative of some of the picnic tables that Carolyn ensured we included outside of the pool within the park. And the photo on the left shows you kind of the character of the adjacent tree lawns next to some of the sidewalks along Motzenbacher. So we're really excited to see how this is all coming together. Next slide. Thank you. And as you know, this application involves a sketch and preliminary plat. We worked to make sure this met the criteria of the town. And we also included drainage improvements, not only for this development, but also for the adjacent Clark Farms, and signed easements agreements with them for the drainage to happen. And those have been executed and provided to the town. And this shows the internal road network that will provide access not only for this neighborhood, but provide that access to Main Street for the larger neighborhood and the internal roadway network as well. And obviously the lots for future residential development. Next slide. As Brianna mentioned, this project we feel meets the town master plan and also other policies of the town of Parker. The zoning criteria in the PD, we are really don't see much of an increase. We're about where the original density was from the original PD. It took a step down in 2017 and we're almost back to where the original density amounts were. And this project is compliant with the master plan of the town of Parker. And we're really excited that this new area has over 55% of the site is proposed for landscape and parkland areas, which exceeds the town goals. Next slide. And just to finalize on this, what some of the things we're very proud about this project is providing a housing option that oftentimes meets the needs for the older population and young professionals, that attached housing and that owner-occupied condominium type of housing choice is often advantageous to those groups. And as I mentioned earlier, the added pedestrian connections will provide, that health aspect and connection throughout the neighborhood. Next slide. And in conclusion, the project will provide the full realization of the Old Town at Parker subdivision, which was promised back in 2008. We are meeting the ideas of mixed use in this area with the adjacent commercial and making sure it has good pedestrian connections, the community pool, and additional park enhancements. The expanded housing options will just help diversify home ownership in Parker by providing more options for residents. And we're excited about the full service aspect of this community. By extending these roads, it provides easier access for residents within the neighborhood to get to the commercial areas and also beyond. Next slide. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you have, and we really thank you for your consideration tonight. And we are very excited about this project and seeing this neighborhood completed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go down the roll. I'll just call your name. You can ask any questions of Brianna or the applicant. Susan, you're first up.
No questions.
Rich?
No questions right now.
John?
I have a couple. As I drive by that on a almost daily basis, could you give me probably Bill would have to do this, a little more information on the drainage improvement, because that is a very substantial drainage area, and it's been a problem going into Clark Farms. Could you just embellish a little bit for me as to what you're actually going to do with that? Is that going to require quite a bit of dirt movement? You're going to do any landscaping? Because I don't believe you'd class that as any kind of a wetland. Just kind of what are you going to do with that drainage area to make it a little more attractive for the residents who drive by on Main Street?
Sure, I can speak to that. Then I will also defer to our team members, the civil engineers that have been integral on that. To respond to your comment about the landscaping, we worked in conjunction with town staff to ensure that there was ample landscaping along Main Street and along the access road that is on the west side of the future drainage area. And one thing with this drainage area that I mentioned before, but I want to reinforce, is it's not only serving our development, but it's being improved and will benefit the Clark Farms neighborhood as well. And we also have retaining walls in there, and we are designing them to be in an aesthetically design, so they are steps, so that doesn't look like these large walls. But with that, I would like to turn it over to Ben or David from Martin, our project engineers, if they have any insight about the more technical aspects of the draining and how we've accomplished that.
Ben has been allowed to speak. Who is the other individual?
David Koontz.
I can speak though to the drainage. Would it be possible to bring up just an overall map that was part of the presentation just for reference?
Sorry, sure. Let me pull that up for you here. From your presentation.
Just, I apologize for the difficulty. Just anything that shows the site plan, just so I can kind of see.
See if I can find one a little closer.
You can go, there you go. Or you can go to the very end of the presentation.
So what we're looking at, the triangle there right below Main Street, is that existing detention pond that kind of wraps in there, and it's a little unsightly. Is excavate that out and provide drainage, an updated drainage design that treats the commercial area, some of the area to the south. The entire proposed development actually provides additional water quality for Bradbury Ranch. So that's the general gist of it. It'll be up to our current mile high flood district criteria, providing more water quality as well as retention. And from there, at the very top, we're going to provide a more structured overflow spillway in case the pond fails, or if a storm comes along that's a little bit bigger than can handle. It'll redirect everything away from Clark Farms in the development and up into Main Street. I can answer any specific questions if you have any.
What you just mentioned, and if it overruns or overfills into Main Street then has to run all the way down, basically, if it's a large volume of water, to Cherry Creek, which would become kind of a traffic hazard. So I would have a little concern about that, but that's probably a 50 or 100-year rain we'd be looking at. But I do like the fact that you're making it a little less. When you said unsightly, I thought that was very polite of you.
I live in Clark Farms, so I drive past it too.
Okay, well, I live in Bradbury. The other questions that I had are approximate size, and I know this is early on in the thing, but approximate size of both the townhomes and the condos, and what type family units are you looking to occupy those?
Okay, thank you, John. I'd like to defer that question to either Brian or Alex Duran, the architect. Which one would you like to speak to that?
Probably Alex.
Okay.
Alex has been added to speak.
Thank you. This is Alex Duran, Guidance Sudik. I'm sorry, the specific question was,
I'm just looking for the size of both your townhomes and your condos, and what are you basically looking for family unit size? Are you looking at 2-bedroom condos, 3-bedroom condos, 1-bedroom, et cetera, and the same holding through with the townhomes?
Yes. So the townhomes are a combination of 2 and 3 bedrooms. If I remember correctly, I think we were around 13 to 1,600 square feet. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it's a combination of 2 and 3 bedrooms. And the condos are the same thing, combination of 2 and 3 bedrooms, and those are gonna range on the smaller side, 1,000 square feet to, I think some are a little bit below and a little bit above that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, and the only other thing I would have is your timeline on beginning construction.
So I don't know, Brian, you might have a better idea of that. We're currently, obviously, just getting through the planning and process.
Yeah, we're
first,
preliminary now, I understand, but I would just like to know if you have a rough idea of when you'd like to start construction, start finally finishing that area off, because it's been a long time coming.
We've been working on this project for 2 years, so I can say immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to that. As soon as the this approval process on the planning part comes through, we actually are preparing the construction documents and are really almost done on that end. So we'll be looking to submit to the building department as soon as we have all our approvals.
And
All right, thank you very much. That's all I have, Gary.
Okay. Tracy?
I have no questions.
Okay. Ruth Ann?
I just had a couple questions. What is the actual density on the 12.2 acres?
So, Bill, please correct me if I'm wrong, but on the 12.2 acres, there will be 158 dwelling units on that entire site.
Okay. And then my other question was on the pool. Is this a pool that's going to be maintained by Parker, or is this an HOA pool? Is it open to the town, or is it open to just the community, the HOA community?
Brian, would you like to speak to that?
Sure, it's going to be owned and operated by the Metro District for the community that's there. Kind of on that initial slide, including our proposed property here tonight.
Thank you.
And they had quite a lot of input on it, all the way down to picking out the tile of the pool. So they're very excited to see it come along.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. And Brianna. This is the time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. The use of video conference technology can be challenging when inviting the public to comment. Therefore, to help us proceed in an organized fashion, we request that you use the raise your hand feature, indicate you would like to speak. We will acknowledge speakers in the order they are received, and when you're acknowledged for your turn to speak, we request that you introduce yourself by stating your name and address and speak respectfully. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. We will now open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Rosemary, do we have any hands raised?
There are no raised hands, Chair.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, Rosemary, there is one.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Mike Heimerly. I'm probably.
Oh, there, I'm sorry, I'm looking in the wrong spot. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Planning Commission, for the time. So my name is Mike Heimerl. I live at 11364 South Grandmaster Circle. I'm the treasurer of the Metro District and also the Master Association. So we've been working on this, or talking about this project with the pool and the improvements with Brian since 2016. And so if we're in a football game, we're in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go, and we're almost to get over the finish line. So we refinanced the bonds for the Metro District in the last year and a half. So if we didn't refinance those bonds, then they would never be paid off, and the mill levy would never go away for the homes in the Newtown community. And by refinancing those bonds, and also with this development, these 156 homes that we're working on now, or that you're considering to be approved now, we need those 156 homes, because if those homes aren't built, then the Metro District, we run the risk of not being solvent again. And this is our last chance, because there's no more land in the community. So we appreciate Brian's support in Pacific North, and the Metro District and Master Association approves and supports this project to move forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any others, Rosemary? Bryce?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, then we will close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there any further questions for Brianna or the applicant from members of Planning Commission?
No, sir.
Nope. No.
All right, then we will close the public hearing at 7:39. Commissioner discussion, we'll just kind of go down the roll again. We'll start with Susan again.
Yeah, no, I support it. It's consistent with the town master plan. And what I think I really like is it's giving some affordable home ownership options to folks, what with the townhomes and condos.
Okay, Rich?
Yeah, there's definitely a need for more townhomes, condos in the town of Parker, and to meet the housing needs of future residents and giving them expanded options. I think it's a great location and fits in well with the 2035 master plan, and I think it meets the 9 criteria right now. and it looks like a well-designed neighborhood.
John?
You know, I agree with what Rich just said. Also, as a member of the community who drives by there frequently, I'm extremely pleased to see that it's going to have a much better aesthetic view for all residents of Parker, as well as providing additional options for living. So I'm very much in support of this program.
Tracy?
I agree, and I echo a lot of what was already said. I'm happy to see that not only are you planning to meet the town's requirements, but throughout the proposal, you've shown that you're going to go a little bit above and beyond, making further improvements to that neighborhood, which is much needed. Adding over 150 new affordable units is a positive. It definitely benefits the town. I think the proposal is consistent with the goals of the master plan and the LDO, so you have my vote. I'm in favor.
Ruth Ann?
I agree with my fellow commissioners. The increase in diversity of housing is always welcome, and I feel that it meets all the criteria for support. So it has my support.
I can't add a lot to what the commissioners have already stated, other than I'm glad to see for this particular metropolitan district that they might be able to pull themselves out of a real tough situation with the help of this development, and that's a very positive thing as well. So then next, do we have a motion?
On the first one, I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve an ordinance for the Old Town at Parker Plan Development Guide, Third Amendment.
A second.
I second that. Yeah.
I couldn't hear who it was. John and Tracy?
Yes, I
By
think Rich
John.
and I were both at the same point.
Right.
So
It's moved by John, seconded by Tracy. The Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve an ordinance for the Old Town Parker Plan Development Guide, Third Amendment. I will call the roll. Susan?
Yes.
Rich?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tracy?
aye.
Ruth Ann?
Aye.
Chair is aye. It passes unanimously. All right, next motion.
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Old Town at Parker F2 sketch and preliminary plans with the 2 conditions in staff's report.
I'll second.
And moved by John, seconded by Rich. The Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Old Town at Parker filing 2 sketch and preliminary plan, subject to the condition listed in staff report. And we'll call the roll again. Susan?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Ruth Ann?
Aye.
Chair is aye. Again, passes unanimously. And that completes item 6 on our agenda. Next item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda, item number 7, is a public meeting on ordinance number 3.01.123, a bill for an ordinance to amend Title 13 of the Parker Municipal Code to add a new section 13.05.015 concerning unauthorized camping in the floodplains. We will open the public meeting at 7:44. And I believe Jamie Wagner is doing this presentation.
Jamie Wynn, but I am here.
Wynn,
correct.
sorry.
No
I'm sorry.
worries.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi. So good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I am here tonight to ask you to recommend that Town Council approve a new ordinance, section 13.05.015. This ordinance came about as a number of meetings from the Mile High Flood District. They have been looking at this issue with respect to safety concerns with regard to individuals camping in the floodplain areas. They have done studies on this and entered a regulation last fall. In the regulation, they are requiring that individuals not put themselves in grave danger by camping in these floodplains. They have found that swift water rescues that have occurred have put the lives of first responders in danger, that individuals have died as the result of camping in floodplains, and any structures or items in those floodplains have also caused damage to both people and property. Based on their regulation, they have asked that the public entities within their floodplain district also consider enforcing these regulations or implementing ordinances of their own, which is why we have drafted this ordinance to be added to our municipal code for the safety reasons and regulations that the Mile High District discovered in their studies. We have designated certain areas as part of our ordinance as prone to flooding. Those areas are defined in the ordinance to include creeks, gulches, drainage ways, channels, swales, detention ponds, culverts, and storm drains. We can put maps together of these areas so people know what areas are prone to flooding for this. We have also discussed the ability of individuals to be notified if it is determined that they're camping in a floodplain so they can remove their property, and what occurs if their property is removed by the town. Because of the significant risks determined and the fact that the Mile High Flood District also recommends that buildings not be built, including commercial and residential, in the floodplains, it is the same concerns that we are requesting that individuals not be allowed to camp in these. Therefore, we are asking that you recommend that Town Council adopt this new ordinance 1305.015 for the safety reasons discussed. I am happy to answer any questions regarding this.
Gary, you're muted.
All right, then we will proceed to commissioner questions. We'll start with Susan.
Yeah, I had a little more, I had some same questions that Ruth Ann brought up earlier today about the marijuana. Can we elaborate on why that was kind of singled out?
It is singled out because the state laws with respect to marijuana are inconsistent with the federal laws. The Colorado Supreme Court has looked at this issue and has determined that police officers or other governmental employees cannot return marijuana, or else they will be in violation of federal law. So in an effort to do that, they have determined that any confiscated marijuana must be maintained. The Parker Police Department does have in their policies the ability of an individual to obtain a court order. And if a court orders them to return the marijuana, they will. Otherwise, it gets destroyed by incineration.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Rich?
Yes, Jamie, did you just say that there will be signs posted in those floodplain areas?
I don't believe signs will be posted. There may be some areas where we logistically can post those signs, but we can certainly, we've created one map, and I can actually try to share my screen and show that. Let's see. We've created one map that does show some of the culverts and drainage ways. We can create maps for different areas around the city, have them available on our website, have them available at Town Hall. And if individuals do have questions about the areas that are considered floodplains, they will be able to access that information.
Okay, yeah, I just kind of recommend that maybe signs be posted in more used or common areas so that people will readily know where the floodplain is.
Sure. And that's
all
something
I
we
had.
can certainly look at doing.
John?
Jamie, our surrounding districts, have they already put this through, or are we the first?
I think we are one of the first. They have asked for copies of our draft ordinance to provide to the other districts to look at implementing something similar. We did take the model ordinances that the Mile High Flood District provided, as well as their regulation, and utilized that and sort of narrowed some of the information that they were requesting to be put in.
So this particular ordinance will be contiguous with all up and down the entire floodplain area surrounding Parker?
I don't know if they're going to adopt the same ordinances, but they are looking at our model one. So I'm assuming that they will be similar in nature.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Tracy? Tracy? Hello. All right, let's go on, Ruth Ann.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. You said that people would be able to get a court order that would allow them to have, if they have medical marijuana that's confiscated, returned to them. How will they know how to do that? And will we provide any assistance to them in helping them obtain their possessions back?
They are given a notice prior to the removal of property. As part of that notice, it will state where that or where their items are being held. The Parker Police Department does have a form that discusses with them their ability to get back their medical marijuana or any other type of marijuana via court order, and how those items are held at the police department. I doubt that the town would be able to provide them specific assistance, but they could certainly reach out to various organizations or the court, the Colorado court's website for self-help forms, or attempt to do that. But I don't believe that we'd be able to provide them legal counsel to do that.
And the notice that be provided in the ordinance, I have a concern because it says that it's going to be, placed in the vicinity. And I'm concerned about notice and giving them effective notice. Do we have anything else that uses this same type of wording for how notice is going to be provided, that we're going to confiscate someone's belongings? It may be all they have in the world.
Generally, they attempt to contact the individual if at all possible, and that has been the common practice in the past with similar ordinances such as this in the town. If they're unable to do that, my understanding is they attempt to place the written notice as close to the location as possible, where it will be as secure as possible. Individuals, I think, often will come to the town if their property is removed, or will come to the police department, and they would have that information available as well.
Okay, let's see. What about duly prescribed opiates? Would those be also confiscated? Even if someone may have duly prescribed opiates, it may not still be in a prescription bottle. And if that is confiscated, how are they going to get that back? Who decides what is illicit and what is not?
If it is provided to the Parker Police Department, which my understanding is it would be, those items can be returned upon any information that indicates that it is a current and valid prescription.
Okay. And is there a way to actually get authorization to camp in a floodplain?
I would not think there would be, because of the danger. The whole purpose of this ordinance is to remove that danger of individuals camping in those floodplains. If it's on private property, that may be different. They could go to the private property owner. But as far as the public property areas, our concern is for the safety. So I would anticipate we would not authorize it.
Then I am concerned by the text, which says unauthorized camping prohibited. That would indicate that at some point you could have authorized camping. It seems unclear to me that it's like, if we're not going to allow camping, let's just say camping is never authorized.
And that's a valid point. That's certainly something that we can look at modifying before it's voted on by town council. It is up for second reading, I believe, on July 6th.
Okay. Let's see. In the definitions under number, let's see, 0.015, it's a personal property. The apparent utility under personal property, how is that determined? Who has apparent utility? What has apparent utility? It just seems very wishy-washy and very subjective. And my concern is that that's something that someone could, say, well, this clearly has no apparent utility. And I know in my own family, quite often someone will say, well, that has no use at all. And I'll say, it's a perfectly good box. And I need to keep this box. So that's my concern, is that, apparent utility is such a wishy-washy thing. How is that addressed in a legal format?
And I think they do look at, because of the extension of definition, personal identification, eyeglasses, money, jewelry. I mean, things that look like discarded trash, those type of things would not be kept. I do believe that they err on the side of caution with maintaining those items for the 30 days so people can retrieve them.
Are there any policies and procedures that are written up within the police department that gives them some guidance in dealing with this?
I am not sure. That's something that I can look into. I know that the other camping ordinances have been in effect for quite some time. And there may be policies and procedures with respect to those that would translate to this one. This one is for a completely different purpose. But if it does discuss the personal property items, we could certainly utilize those. And so that's something I can check into.
And I understand, I appreciate the answer to your questions. I'm still not in a position, I feel, where I can support this, but I appreciate you answering my questions.
Absolutely.
Tracy?
Sorry, Gary, I was stuck on mute. No questions here.
That's okay. I have no further questions. Any other discussion from any of the members?
No, sir.
Nope.
Do we have a motion?
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve an ordinance to amend the Parker Municipal Code regarding unauthorized camping in the floodplain.
I'll second.
It's been moved by John, seconded by Rich, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve an ordinance to amend the Parker Municipal Code regarding unauthorized camping in the floodplain. I will call the roll. Susan?
Oh, I'm conflicted. I think it needs some work on the wording. I think Ruth Ann kind of summed it up. A lot of it is kind of wishy-washy. I would hope that there is more work done on it, but I will support it.
So that's a yes?
Yeah, aye.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Adding this section concerning unauthorized camping in a floodplain, I think makes a lot of sense. But as with this ordinance and other ordinances over time, I think many of them do get improved upon and revised. So I'm sure that this one will get revised as we go along and do some tweaks to it. But I'm going to approve it.
That's a yes. John?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Ruth Ann?
Due to the language, I have to vote no.
Okay. Chairman votes yes. Motion passes 5-1. All right. Next item is staff items. Anything, Bryce?
I do not have anything, sir.
Okay. Remember, commissioners, to stay on line after the meeting for a few moments for discussion. And we will adjourn the meeting at 7:59.